Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special episode of the Real Collective Podcast. This is episode 5. I am Brendan McKeegan, and with me, as always, right above me, there he is.
Sean Tassay.
I pointed out, but I think on YouTube he's probably on one of these sides, but you guys get what is going on. We're doing a Zoom call, and then they place the windows. And today, we have a very special guest on the show. She is one of the Real Collective Zones. She is our Lady of Luxury. Jess DiNardo is here. Hi, Jess. How are you?
I'm good, Brendan. How are you?
I am wonderful. Yeah, thanks for coming. This is exciting. I like this. We do have a wonderful program today. We're going to obviously dip into a little bit of the luxury side of things. We're going to be talking about some of the best neighborhoods in Ottawa, so within the Greenbelt, that you can purchase a home in if you're looking for that luxury lifestyle. And then later on, we're going to dive into what Jess's specialty is and her experiences working with luxury properties and what to expect when you're looking at luxury properties. If you're having a good time so far on episode 5, we have 4 more in the bag for you. You can check them out on Spotify and the Apple store. You can check those out there. If you're having a good time on the YouTubes, please like, subscribe, and share us. That would be wonderful. And then we will get into it. Sean, how is your week going so far, my friend?
So far, so good. We, as a matter of fact, sold a luxury property this week. So good timing for everything. For people who don't know, a luxury property in Ottawa is any property that is selling in that price range over $1 million. It accounts for probably less than 10% of the overall market, but it is certainly, as people are changing their lifestyles, certainly something to focus on and pay attention to. And really interesting coming down the pipe is we'll get to see a few videos with Jess in them at some luxury properties. So we'll have a look at those in the middle. And like Brendan said, if you guys are listening to this on either Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, feel free to check it out on YouTube, and then you can actually start to see some of these videos that we're talking about all the time. So yeah.
Absolutely. So we're going to dive into it today, guys. We're going to talk about some of the top properties, top areas in Ottawa that you can live in. We're going to start at number 5 and work our way down. So number 5, we're going to get right into it. We're going to start in Alta Vista. A lot of you may have heard of Alta Vista. Maybe you haven't. It's over near the hospital, not the Civic. That's the other one. But this one, Alta Vista, has gone through quite a resurgence. A lot of people are buying homes and completely renovating them, or they're rebuilding. There's a lot going on there.
It's a really interesting
absolutely.
neighborhood. It started off, it was built in the 60s by Minto. A lot of the homes in there are old 60s Minto homes. They're really cool mid-century styling. And if you could snap up one of those old Minto homes and redo it, if you can pick it up for under $800 and then, put a couple of $100,000 into it, you're going to be walking away with a multi-million, like not multi-million, but an over $1 million home for sure, with the right upgrades.
It's neat. I've seen a few houses in there where I walk in and I feel like I'm walking into a ski chalet. Like they've got these open concept ceilings and they've got these beams built in. It's like, oh wow. And they've got like slanted sloping ceilings as opposed to just a standard one. And then there's of course some real big bangers in there. Like it seems as though some physicians have just torn out houses and put these huge homes in. So the other neat thing is even though it is sort of a high-end neighborhood, it still has a bit of a family feel to it. You've got a lot of streets that don't really have sidewalks on them. So it's more like it's got a really neat vibe going on with it. So yeah, Alta Vista is a cool place to live in the city, I'd say for sure.
Yeah. And a lot of these too that we're looking at today, what kind of sets them apart too is that when we're looking at urban density, these places have larger lots because a lot of them are older. They're older lot lines. Like, so you're getting a nice backyard with most of these homes. I mean, I can't tell you how many pools I've seen in Alta Vista. It's almost like every other home. If you look at the Google Maps, the satellite view and look down, it's just pool after pool because they have the space.
It's true.
That's true. All right. Number 4, we're going to jump over to the other hospital. We're looking at the Civic Hospital area. Sean, what sets this apart from the Alta Vista neighborhood?
It's neat that that sort of number 4 and number 5 are centered around hospitals, and I think we skipped over one, which is Qualicum, and it's again that's also like right beside another hospital. It's not on our list. Spoiler alert! If you're waiting for whether to see it's going to show up on number 1 or not, but yeah, Civic Hospital, same sort of thing, right? It's got a really neat vibe to it, where you have some of these older style century homes, and then you've got some not as many infills. It's not as big, right? But it does have this really nice family vibe, and it is certainly you'll find a higher average income, I suppose, is the easiest way to say it, in the neighborhood. So nice area, but there are some infills, and they are like really big houses, but it does have this sort of family feel. It's where my son goes to school, in a school that's in the Civic Hospital. So, and a lot of the people who are his classmates, the parents will walk their kids to school, and it's neat to see sort of the young families in the neighborhood as well. And it's sort of changing, right? Like you've got the people who've lived there for a long time, and those houses are flipping over to the new families. So it's neat to see it happen.
It's also a very different style of home in that neighborhood too, compared to Alta Vista. The Alta Vista is those sort of 60s mid-century. These are, in Civic area, you're getting a lot more of those century homes. So that, if that's what someone's looking for, if they're not looking for something super modern, sometimes they are looking for those old, beautiful, grand dame homes.
Yeah. And I find too with Civic, you get a lot more 2 stories, and Alta Vista seems to have more bungalows in that area than probably any of these other neighborhoods, really.
Mm-hmm.
When they first built the Civic Hospital, like back in the whatever it was 60s or something, they were building it on farm fields, right? And so people in the 50s or whatever it was a long time ago, and they were like, "Why are you putting a hospital on the very end of the city? That's a terrible place for it." And now, I mean, it's essentially right in the middle. It's super quick to get off the Queensway at Parkdale, and they're talking about a huge expansion, which is taking over some of the what's it called? The experimental farm land away from it. Yeah. And so there's going to be a big growing up sort of thing that happens there. And it's right next to Little Italy, right? And Dallas Lake and stuff like that. So you're going to start to see some gentrification and some increased density, I think, not necessarily around the Civic Hospital proper, but sort of some of the outlying areas around it as we move forward. So yeah, definitely top number 4. Good hood.
I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because that helicopter pad is across Carling, and it always just strikes me weird to that. I know it's not the case. I know they put them in an ambulance, but I always picture the helicopter landing and then running the gurney to the crosswalk, and then just like, come on, and just hitting the button. So if they build something over there that's more like an emergency ward, like an actual emergency ward, that kind of makes sense, and keep it separate from the rest. Like you can have your surgeries and things that need to happen or that are planned, and then the urgent care kind of thing. So that would be nice to see. Number 2, we don't know, guys. We were at an end. Tell us what you think after the show. Put it in the comments. Let us know if you agree with 3 and 2. But number 3 is the Glebe. That's right. We have the Glebe. If you like rock shows and football games and noise complaints, you will love the Glebe. If you love artisan coffee, the Glebe is for you. Sean, what makes the Glebe so special or so unique for Ottawa?
Well, I think the Glebe for a long time has been sort of a long-standing traditional, this is where the houses there they're all century houses, except for the ones that have been torn down and infilled. But a lot of the places are sort of big, almost I wouldn't say estate size lots, but they're oversized lots on some of the really premier streets, like on Clemo and stuff like that, where the houses are so set far back from the street, and they've got this really regal sort of look with a balcony in the front. And so there's a lot of I guess you'd call it old money as far as Ottawa goes in the Glebe. It is certainly the place where it's for the longest time it's been sort of the secondary or premier secondary neighborhood in all of Ottawa. Obviously second to the one that we'll talk about later, but it still does have that family friendly vibe to it, and it seems to be just a little bit more approachable than maybe some of the other ones. So that's my take.
Jess, what about you? What's your experiences with the Glebe? How do you feel about it?
So I think the Glebe is a really interesting neighborhood in Ottawa. When I transplanted here 20 years ago, it was the neighborhood, other than our number one, which we'll get to in a second. It was the expensive neighborhood. I do find that as time has gone on, that has started to slip. And we'll talk about why with our number two in a second, and sort of why I ranked it as number two, and Sean and I didn't necessarily agree on that. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Glebe is still awesome. I'm down here quite frequently in the Glebe, and it's a really beautiful neighborhood, gorgeous homes, the side streets, especially this time of year with all the leaves turning, and that like idyllic walking through, a small town street with the crunching leaves underfoot. You get that feeling in the Glebe that you don't necessarily get in other places in Ottawa because it's a city, but this still has that small town feel, and it's super, super walkable, which is fantastic.
I think one thing that might have added to sort of your perceived reduction in the Glebe versus what you've ranked as number two, which I called number three, is the fact that so many of the buildings, because of how big and expansive the units are, they're being converted into three, 4, and 5 unit rental buildings, and that might have a negative effect on the overall neighborhood as a whole, the overall demographics of it. So I wonder if that might play a part in it.
I can see that, but I think with the rentals that are happening, they're more, I don't want to say luxury rentals, but they're definitely, I think, higher end. But I mean, at the same time too, it's pretty close to Carleton University. So you're going to have a little bit more south in the Glebe. You might have some more of that like student housing kind of thing going on.
They definitely are higher end rentals. There's no stigma about the tenants themselves, but it tends to be, if a tenant rents a house, they're less invested in the community as a whole. And in the Glebe, you do see a lot of people who are very invested in their community. And that's, something I think might be dropping off a little bit as we do see more of these converted into multiple units.
Right on. Number two, we're going to move on to it. It's the one that you've all been sort of waiting for, that you know what's going to come. It's the place where Subarus reign supreme and expensive strollers are everywhere. It is Westboro, everybody. No surprise there. The Westboro neighborhood has been growing, and a lot like Alta Vista, there's larger lots in there. There's a lot of infill happening right now. There's a big mix of that, and you have these huge homes that are being built right down like in the heart of it, and you're very close to everything. And once the LRT is actually functional and safe for people to ride, that's going to make a difference in there too. So it's only going to go on the rise from here. That's my take on it. And plus they have like all the shops and stuff are very accessible by walking or just a short bike ride, or even the side streets like you mentioned before. They don't bring in leaves like the Glebe does. They don't have the crunchy fall leaves year round. The Glebe has a special fund for that, where they sprinkle leaves in April to make people feel welcome in the home.
They save up money from the great Glebe garage sale so that they can afford to bring leaves in.
Yes, please. We need our spring leaves. Buy our stuff. What are your thoughts, John? Let's start there on Westboro.
Yeah, I think Westboro offers something unique that I think the Glebe also offers, and just hit on it, that so many of today's families are looking for. It's like, hey, give me a nice house to live in. That's, I can commute and I can have my car, but I also want to walk somewhere. I want to walk with my, you said strollers. I tried to book. The word was perambulator, which is a pram, a British old word for a perambulator. I don't know if I've ever had to say that word before, but it sounded a lot of fun to say. So people want to push their pram to go and get their coffee, and to throw a few things underneath, and stop at the deli and stop at the candy store and stop at this store, as opposed to necessarily going to one store altogether. And it's a bit of a different lifestyle. I would say it is, as far as young and accessible families go, it's the neighborhood that really shows up on people's list. Hey, yeah, this is where I want to live. This is where I want to live. This is the spot that I want to be in. Yeah, that's my take on Westboro.
It's definitely got the cool factor that I'm sorry to say the Glebe doesn't necessarily have anymore. And the Glebe did used to have that. It's been really, really interesting to watch Westboro develop over the last 20 years. When I moved here is when the Mountain Equipment Co-op just had gone in. And, that's obviously now a huge fixture in the Glebe. And because of the Mountain Equipment Co-op opening, it encouraged a lot of other businesses to move there. When I moved here, I lived in Wellington West, which is really close to Westboro, and it was not a good neighborhood. It was a very sketchy neighborhood at the time. And that dynamic has completely shifted over the last 20 years. And a lot of it has to do with that Mountain Equipment Co-op opening. It started to become a destination for people to go to. And then when the superstore opened up, that changed the dynamics again, because it was no longer a food desert. So more people wanted to live there. And it's just gone up and up and up since then. It's been very, very interesting to watch, and to watch the dynamic shift away from the Glebe focus to the Westboro focus, especially for younger buyers who do have that money to spend.
Yeah, I think there's a definite growth for younger people to be looking at Westboro. I just feel like that's more where they want to be. And I don't know if that's just proximity, location to other things that are around, or if it's just a matter of, like you said, you're walking down the street in Westboro and it's a lot of independently owned businesses. And that's really nice to see. Yes, there's places like the Barley Mow and Dairy Queen and stuff like that. That's going to be in any neighborhood. But for the most part, a lot of these are local businesses. Clock Tower Brew Pub, it's really nice to see that. And it's got its own sort of community vibe going on there.
I think the other important thing to note is the houses that people, especially the young families that we're working with, and especially the sort of luxury buyers that we're working with, are looking for a house in Westboro, and they're trying to buy something that's a little bit newer. Whereas for the same money, the house that you'll get in the Glebe might have issues with water in the basement, might be 100 years old, et cetera. And so, the young families that are looking for houses typically today don't want all the brain damage that comes with owning a house that's over 100 years old. Give me the new look, give me that. That's what the luxury buyers are sort of looking for today. And I think that's another housing factor that Westboro provides that the Glebe might be a little bit lacking on.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. All right. Number one on the list. I don't think anyone's going to be surprised by this. I have thoughts about it, but I'll bring those up soon. We are going to talk about the neighborhood that if you're an ambassador, you probably live there. And if you're the prime minister, you probably live there too. It is Rockliffe, the Rockliffe area. It's just north of Montreal Road for anyone who doesn't know. And if you drive around there, some people, it's one of those neighborhoods where people like to drive around to just look at the houses. It's, a lot of people are like, wow, look at that one. Wow, look at that one. What is it that draws people in there? Because there's also some condos and things like that in there too, like low-rise condos. So Jessica, let's start on you. What's your thoughts with Rockliffe area?
I've been obsessed with Rockliffe Park since I moved to Ottawa, because for the longest time, I didn't know it existed. Before I moved to Ottawa, and even in my first couple of years here, driving around in that area, if you don't know it's there, you wouldn't know it was there. Like, you really have to go off the beaten path, and then you get into these sort of winding streets and you're like, oh, wow, this is incredible. And then you do see all of these incredible homes. If you're just sort of driving past the Prime Minister's residence or along the Parkway, you kind of miss that whole area, which is really, really interesting. I love and appreciate the architecture in Rockliffe Park. I understand why the home values are what they are in Rockliffe Park. You do have these beautiful architectural wonders with huge lots, beautiful landscaping. There's a lot going into those properties. They are, of course, out of reach for most buyers. I would say of the 10% of luxury of homes that sell in the market that are luxury homes, I would say a much smaller percentage of those are within the Rockliffe Park area, because your baseline is probably 2.5 million in there. That's your bottom line for the base model. But
yeah,
they're still beautiful homes.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, is a lot of them are owned by dignitaries, and it's foreign land, because a lot of them are, I don't know how well, a lot of ambassadors live in there. Let's say that. I've been to where the German ambassador lives. So my wife was friends with their son when they were here before. And they're just huge, gorgeous homes. And you're taking these tours and you're like, and what do you guys do here? Do you just always have people over? Yep. pretty much that's what they do.
And it's their job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, houses are typically defined on a price per square foot, right? Whether it's the inside of the house or whether it's the lot that it's sitting on. And when you've got 11 bedrooms in one house, you're going to need square footage to cover that off. So of course these places are selling for more. Like Jess said, the entry level point is like a really nice house in a lot of other neighborhoods. Like in some of the estate lots that we're not talking about outside the city, that's your 10-acre property with whatever
Pony.
it is, a pony and 6 bedrooms. Yeah, exactly. And in Rockliffe Park, that buys you, a 2 or a 3 bedroom bungalow, right? On sort of the weird corner lot down the hill and around. And Rockliffe is also super beautiful. The landscape and the terrain and how hilly it is, it gives houses an extra level of privacy. So you might have your houses here and your neighbor's house is here, and as a result, you don't end up looking at each other ever. There's a lot of old growth, right? Like there's a lot of old houses, same as we've talked about before. A lot of really old sort of estate style houses mixed in with some really neat infills. Like when Ottawa went through its big tech boom in the late 90s and early 2000s, some of the premier business owners in the neighborhood, went in and spent a lot of money on really making these properties personalized. And then you can also see the different decades as you go and look at some of these different houses. Oh, this one must have been built in the 80s because it has that, or the 70s, it's got that, spiral staircase and shag carpets. And it's all of these sort of cliche things that you would think about a house of that era. You'll see them in these houses. And so it's neat to look at some of them, especially some of the older ones.
One thing too about the terrain, Sean, is really, I think is really important and not to be missed. That's the only place in Ottawa that you do find terrain like that, to have that sort of privacy. Like if you think about, I don't know if you guys watch any of the sort of television, like $1 million listing television programs, but it looks a lot like Los Angeles real estate in terms of it being on a hill. And you don't see that anywhere else in Ottawa, where you do have that, no rear neighbor necessarily looking into your backyard because it's on a ravine.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more privacy in that neighborhood. And I think that just speaks to what the people that are occupying the homes and how they need it. So it's definitely a result of that. So there's our top 5, everybody. If there's some that we missed, or if you don't agree, let us know in the comments below. Maybe you live in a neighborhood that sounds like it's kind of racist. Maybe like you live in like Whitehaven, like some weird place where that shouldn't be the name of a neighborhood, but it is. So maybe you think that should be on a list. But it's, it's up to you. Put it in the comments below. Let us know what you think. Right now, we're going to take a break, but we are going to show you a video that Jess has done for one of our listings. So we're going to throw to that right now. So take a look at that, and we will be right back.
Guys, today we're in Riverside South for this one. 520 Supernova. What a great name for a street. This home is unbelievable on the inside. It's a Richcraft Westbrook model.
That's right, Sean. With 3,000 square feet, 5 bedrooms, 4 full baths. Let me tell you, this place is beautiful.
Yeah, we got to talk a little bit about your vocabulary, pal. Let me tell you, beautiful. You've been leaning into those a little bit hard. So I've got a bit of surprise for you today. I'll let you go inside the house and find out.
Okay, thanks. Now, as soon as I walk in this place, immediately I'm hit by luxury. Oh, speaking of luxury, here's our lady of luxury.
I prefer the term luxury realty specialist. Lady of luxury might have a certain connotation. I'm here to help you because I am the team's luxury real estate specialist.
Oh, thanks. And I think you're also here to help me out a little bit with my vocabulary, especially for a beautiful home like this. Let me tell you, I really have a tough time coming up with synonyms for beautiful.
Splendid, wonderful, gorgeous, fantastic, absolutely lovely.
Okay, I'll try to remember those. Now, part of this wonderful entrance of this home is this great formal living area. It's got a lot of space here, and you know what? It's actually quite surprising how big it is. And then it flows back to this more informal part of the home. And I tell you, this space back here is expansive. This is what everybody wants nowadays. This room is huge. I tell you, it's so big and so great, I need Jess to help me out.
So let me help you out then, Elliot. Let's talk about this gorgeous, fantastic, amazing kitchen. If you like to cook at home, and especially during the pandemic, we've been doing a lot of cooking at home these days, this kitchen is perfect for you. We've got stainless steel appliances, this is a gas range, and it's a smart stove. It is absolutely fantastic, and right over here is one of my favorite things in a home, a butler's pantry. Here in the butler's pantry, we've got a built-in wine fridge, lots of storage for all your stemware, and in the pantry, maybe I've got some crackers for my cheese.
Butter brings snack. Now, as great as this first floor has been, it's not over yet. That space over there is huge, but there's also this whole other separate area. You have a great bedroom right here, a full bathroom on the main floor, and you have an office/bedroom. And check out the lady luxury.
Luxury realtor, Elliot, luxury realtor.
Welcome to the primary bedroom. Come on in. This space continues up here on the second floor with this beautiful, large primary bedroom. You can have all your primaries in this room at the same time. It's so big. You got a great walk-in closet, but you know what the pièce de résistance is in this room? It is the beautiful, fully upgraded bathroom. I'll let Jess talk about that one.
Thanks, Elliot. Love the French on that one too. This bathroom truly is a pièce de résistance. This is the first of 2 ensuite bathrooms in this gorgeous home. We have a double sink, a huge soaker tub, and a massive stand-up shower. I don't know about you, but this is the bathroom of my dreams.
I tell you, everything about this house just makes me feel so fancy. This is an other bedroom with its own bathroom.
That's right, Elliot. In any other house, this might be considered a primary bedroom, but in this house, we have 2 huge, beautiful bedrooms up here, both with en-suites and both with walk-in closets, and that's not all.
That's right, Jess. It doesn't stop there. There is more to this top floor. Meet Jack.
And this is Jill. Closets abound in both bedrooms. Down here in the basement, we've got all kinds more space. That's right, we've got all this space and you can have carte blanche to do whatever you want with it.
That's right, add that space out of the fact that you got beautiful large windows, even egress windows. You've got some sleeping quarters right here. You got a rough in for a bathroom and this kitchen. Start our disclaimer, this is not a legal secondary dwelling unit.
So obviously this outside living space is awesome. We've got the fence going in, fresh sod has been laid. This neighborhood is to die for. If you've got a young family, whole bunch of kids under 10 all living up and down the street, Elliot, you got a chance to go inside the house, and of course you had Jess to help you out. What did you think about the inside and having Jess with you?
Let me tell you, Sean, the inside of the house was beautiful, and it was so much help having Jess there. Oh, I guess I need her out here too. I just did it again.
You know what, we'll give you a pass on this one, but hopefully you'll be able to figure out some new vocabulary moving forward. So if you guys would like to see this home or any others, as always, please give us a call. The phone number 613-314-3187, and until then, stay fire out.
Welcome back, everybody. That was Justin Ardo and our own Elliot Moult doing a video for a property that we had on Supernova, which is one of the coolest names for a street ever. That was a beautiful home, and just well done on the video. That was wonderful, as always. Some of you may have seen some videos that Jess and I have done together. They are highly acclaimed from last Christmas, so go check those ones out too. If you like the videos that you did just see, like us and share, subscribe, hit the notification bell on the YouTubes. If you're listening to this in your car, pull over right now and do the same thing. that's probably not safe. Do it when you get off. Do it when you get off out of the car. So we have Jess DiNardo. Like I said, she is here with us. She's going to fill you guys in on what it's like if you're looking for a luxury property. So Jess, what made you decide that that was the way you wanted to take your real estate career?
Sure. So my background is actually, I come from the world of both the fine arts and fine dining. I am passionate for good design, and I'm passionate about good food. So as you know, throughout my life, I've always been interested in, luxurious properties, luxury lifestyle. I grew up reading Town and Country magazine and Vogue. My mother would bring them home, and I'd like to look at the pretty pictures. And as a result, I ended up learning a lot about architecture and design. When I moved into real estate, I didn't really realize what a great market Ottawa is for luxury homes, because, our luxury entry point is $1 million, which, let's not get it twisted, that is a lot of money, but it's not the same as a luxury entry point in another market where it might be, $5 million is what's considered a luxury home. So yeah, that was what made me decide to start working with luxury properties. I believe, I do have a lot of knowledge as a result of my background that I can pass on to buyers. The other thing is too, when you're working with buyers who are looking to buy a luxury property, they have a higher budget, which also means they have higher expectations of their realtor. And having patience and gentleness and kindness to work with people, because it's a longer process to buy a luxury home than it is, you're not going to go out and see 10 houses in one weekend, simply because 10 houses don't come on the market in one weekend at that price point. So having that patience to deal with people who may be getting frustrated because they haven't been able to find the house that they want, is a real virtue in this business.
Yeah, and definitely even on the listing side of things, you see these homes that are 3 million, 2 million plus, and they definitely do sit there much longer than the rest because there's a smaller amount of buyers for that. Sean, I'm sure we've all had some experience now with luxury buyers and sellers, and it's definitely a tough nut to crack. It's definitely a lot of perseverance, and when you can focus there, the payoff is still going to be there. It's kind of a high risk, high reward scenario. But it also helps when your realtor has good taste and knows what they're talking about. So that's definitely what you want to be getting into there. Sean, what are your experiences with the luxury market?
Well, I don't think I have as much experience working with luxury buyers as maybe Jess does. I think a lot of the business that I do is working with sort of young families. But as a result of the growth that Ottawa's seen over the last 3 years, some of a typical family home that a young family would buy is almost qualifying now as a luxury property. And so I think when we're buying, Jess is right. I mean, there's I wouldn't call it picky, but more focused on, I think the buyers seem to be more focused on value, right? Like, okay, I'm spending this money. Well, what am I getting? Like, how much better is this than something else? So very value oriented is what I would judge the folks that I work with. And I'm sure that there are some people out there who aren't value oriented, who are like, give me the absolute best possible house with all of the best finishes and the name brand, every single thing. I haven't had a lot of experience working with those types of people. And so I can't necessarily speak to that type of buyer. What I want to know, Jess, from you, and I'm maybe stealing your thunder here, Brendan, with asking questions, is what have you found when people are selling their high-end homes? Where do the pitfalls lie?
So the number one pitfall that I see the most is in pricing a home to start with. As realtors, we do have access to all of the sold data. We can tell people what things have sold for. However, there's a couple of factors. First of all, when you do get into these larger luxury homes, there are fewer and fewer properties that are similar to be able to compare them to. So, if you have an architectural masterpiece that's been built, by an architect in the 80s, but the last 3 houses that have sold in the neighborhood were, modern boxes that are infill that just went in, how do you compare the price on those? Is it by square foot? Is it by finishes? It's really, really difficult to price these homes. And sometimes we do see that quite often in that higher price point, where a home will sit on the market and then you'll see it go through price reductions because the listing agent, gave it their best, but also maybe overshot a little bit. And sometimes that overshoot does come from the seller themselves. It's difficult to remove yourself emotionally from selling your home, no matter what the price point is. But if it's a fully customized home, I think it might be even harder to remove yourself. You've put all this time and effort into it. You love your home so much. And if someone is telling you it's worth $500,000 less than you think it is, you may fight back and want to list it at that higher number, even if the market may not demand it.
I guess it's a little bit different than listing a townhouse in Barrhaven where 15 of them have sold in the last week and they all look identical with Brendan's favorite lines on the wall of live, laugh, love. Right. And because so many of them are custom homes, finding the absolute right buyer, like we've alluded to, will probably take more time. And you can't really guarantee when the perfect buyer walks through the front door, or whether or not the perfect buyer for your home is actually shopping for a home right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You're trying to sell a tailored suit or a tailored gown to another person that's tailored to you when it comes to those custom homes, right? Like, hey, does this fit anybody else? And it takes a long time to find that person that, one, it fits, and two, they like. Like some people might like a layout, but you can't buy taste. And unfortunately, sometimes the more money people have, the more marble they put on everything. So
that's a really, really great analogy, Brendan, with the tailored outfit. The other thing is too, and this is something I have definitely noticed with buyers at that higher price point, is they believe, and this may be erroneous, especially considering what our market has done in the last couple of years in terms of prices going up and up and up. They believe, let's say their budget is $2 million. Okay, they want exactly what they want. And they can't see the value of, okay, well, this house is, let's say your budget's $2 million. This house is listed at 1.8. We can probably get it for 1.75, and you can change the things that you don't like because then you still have room in your budget. They're like, well, no, I'm spending that money. It needs to be done the way I want it to be done. So it's a matter of managing your client's expectations as well, which is, something that can be very challenging sometimes. I want my clients to be happy. I want them to love the home that they're purchasing. And I do know, like, the buyers do suffer burnout as well. About 3/4 of the way through the process, they kind of throw their hands up and say, I'm never going to find anything. And that's like, no, we got to persevere. It's been my experience that I will work with a luxury buyer anywhere from 6 months to a year. As opposed to a single family home first time buyer, it's a couple of weeks sometimes or a couple of days, sometimes even, to find them the right home, because 15 of them came on the market last week.
Right. So I want to try to cover a little bit on like both sides of it, because most recently, we were just talking about a success story that you had with a client who ended up finding the home of her dreams, and you were working with her for a long time. So what are some of the challenges maybe from both sides? So that hopefully this helps anybody trying to get into luxury real estate or anyone looking for luxury homes. What was some of the challenges that you had with this and that your client had?
Sure. So I think the number one challenge for her at the beginning was she did have this big budget, but she didn't know what she wanted. She had a really, really broad search. We were looking at a lot of different kinds of properties, everything from a multi-unit in Vanier to, huge estates in Manotick. We were all over the map. And until she was really able to drill down and figure out what it was that she wanted, we weren't able to get anywhere. And sometimes that was just a matter of showing her everything. Here's everything in your budget. And if any of these catch your fancy, let's go look at it. And, there was some weighing of pros and cons of, she was she's a young girl with a large budget. I'm like, why not buy a multi-unit and live in one of the units and have it be paying for itself? Ultimately, she decided that wasn't her goal, and that's great too. We did find her, a beautiful waterfront home that she was very, very thrilled with. But yeah, I think it was a matter of really, really drilling down what it is that she was looking for. While on the other side, I have other clients who know exactly what it is they're looking for, and it's been a matter of expanding their area of where they want to be. Like at first, they only wanted to be in Westboro, and now we're looking at the Glebe, at Old Ottawa South, at Rideau Heights, at Civic. Like we're opening up those neighborhoods for them, so they are able to find something that they do truly like.
Yeah, it sounds like it's both sides. You either have a very wide net and you're trying to rein them in, or you got people that are stuck in a room and you're trying to get them out and like, look around. There's way more for you to take a look at. Mm-hmm. Yeah. As opposed to most, I would say the average home buyer, I always tell my clients, like, we're casting a wide net to see what we come back, because it might be the perfect house over here. And for a lot of people, they're like, yeah, you know what? If it was an extra 5 minutes and the house was perfect, great. But when the luxury market, some people are like, nope. If it's not specifically in this neighborhood or on this street, I'm not going to do it. Perfect. Well, Jess, thank you so much for joining us today. Besides our realcollective.ca website, where can people find you online?
They can find me on Instagram at My Ottawa Lifestyle.
My Ottawa Lifestyle. Check her out there on Instagram. If you enjoyed the episode, everybody, give us a like, share, and subscribe, and the notification bell on. We're just going to point down. I don't know if it's there, but that's what people do when they're fancy online, because they're all influencers. Exactly. Just all over the place. I am Brennan McKeegan. If you disagreed with anything or you have comments of your own, you've been through the luxury process, put it in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Brennan McKeegan. Thank you guys so much. And this up here is my co-host and my partner, Sean. Sean, your turn to sign it out.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, that was a great chat. Jess, thanks for joining us and sharing some experience that you have working with people in that luxury space. I think it was great. And yeah, just echo everything that Brennan said. So that's it for me. And yeah, thanks again for joining.
All right. See you guys next week. Check us out on Spotify and the Apple iTunes podcast website, whatever it's called. And share this on YouTube. Thanks, guys.
It's just called podcasts.
Apple Podcasts? Not iTunes?
Nope.
Okay, Apple Podcasts. See, I'm an Android guy, but there we go, guys. That's a topic for another day. Thank you once again to Justin Ardo for joining us today. Check us out, realcollective.ca. We'll catch you on the next Real Collective podcast. I'm Brennan McKeegan. Bye-bye.